You check the account on a Wednesday. Not because you plan to, because the week has been expensive in that low grade way weeks sometimes are. A car thing, a dinner you said yes to, a thing for the apartment you'd been putting off, and the number in the account is lower than it should be for a Wednesday in the middle of the month. You earn good money. You know you earn good money. You've known it since the offer letter arrived and you read the number twice to make sure you hadn't misread it. And yet here you are on a Wednesday evening, doing the same mental arithmetic you were doing 6 years ago when you were earning half this much, arriving at the same low-grade anxiety, the same slight tightness that has no right to be there at this income. You close the app. You tell yourself it'll sort itself out before the end of the month. It always does. That has always been the part that unsettles you most. Not that it doesn't sort itself out, that it only barely does. That there is never quite the distance between the salary and the edge that the salary promised there would be. You earn well. You feel behind. And you have never said that out loud to anyone because it sounds like ingratitude. It sounds like a problem that isn't allowed to exist at this income level. So you keep it private, this Wednesday feeling, and you close the app and you order dinner because the week has been long enough to deserve it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about earning well. The feeling doesn't automatically follow the income upward. The anxiety doesn't dissolve at a particular number the way you believed it would when you were working toward the number. What happens instead is more interesting and more uncomfortable. The life reorganizes around the income. The expectations reorganize. The comparisons reorganize. And the gap between what you earn and what you feel financially, the distance between the salary and the sense of security, stays remarkably, stubbornly, almost perfectly consistent, regardless of what the number does. This is not a character flaw. It is not a discipline problem. It is a mechanism. And the mechanism has a name and a shape. And once you see it, you cannot look at your Wednesday account check the same way again. The first part of the mechanism is the one everyone knows exists, and almost nobody catches in real time. You got the raise, the real one, the kind that moved the number on the offer letter far enough to feel significant. And something happened in the weeks after it arrived that felt like reward and looked like progress and was neither of those things exactly. The apartment got slightly better, not dramatically, just the next tier up, the one with the in-unit laundry and the extra room you told yourself you needed. The car got newer, not extravagant, just newer. The dinners got easier to say yes to. The weekend trips stopped requiring the mental calculation they used to. Each individual upgrade was reasonable, justified even. You'd earned it. That's the word that does the damage, by the way. Earned. Because the raise arrived as reward, the spending that followed felt like reward too. Like the natural, appropriate response to having done something right. What you couldn't see because nobody ever sees it from the inside is that the spending didn't follow the raise. The spending met the raise at the door, took it by the arm, and walked it straight into a new fixed cost before the first paycheck cleared. The raise became the floor of the new life almost instantly, and the new life cost almost exactly what the raise provided. The gap didn't widen, it just moved up a floor and kept the same width. You're doing this on a higher level now. That's all that changed. The second part of the mechanism is quieter and in some ways more powerful. When the income rises, the peer group rises with it. Not dramatically, not all at once, but consistently, over years. In the natural way that happens when you change jobs and move neighborhoods and spend time with the people who work where you work and live where you live. At 35, you're not comparing yourself to who you compared yourself to at 25. The baseline has shifted. The people around you now earn what you earn, spend the way you spend, live in the same buildings, and eat at the same places. And so the income that felt significant when you earned it, that number you read twice on the offer letter, has become ordinary. Not because it is ordinary in any absolute sense, because you are now surrounded entirely by people for whom it is ordinary. The relativity didn't change. Only the reference point did. This is why the Wednesday feeling persists across salary levels. Because the feeling was never about the number, it was always about the distance between you and the people around you. And that distance has a way of staying constant no matter how fast you run, because everyone around you is running the same direction at roughly the same speed. The third part is the one that feels like a reward when you're inside it and looks like a trap from the outside. You have built a life on the salary, a real life. The apartment, the car, the subscriptions, the lifestyle, the contributions you make to things that matter to you. All of it is real and good and funded by the income. And the income has quietly become the minimum requirement for keeping all of it running. Which means the income is no longer something you have, it is something you need. The distinction sounds small and is not small at all. An income you have gives you choices. An income you need gives you obligations. And the obligations, the rent, the car payment, the fixed costs that arrived in the wake of every raise, have a way of expanding until they require exactly the income you currently earn to service them. People call this the golden handcuffs, and they usually say it with a kind of rueful pride, as if it's evidence of success. It is evidence of a trap, a comfortable trap furnished nicely, with good lighting and a decent view. But a trap in the sense that leaving it, taking a risk, changing direction, pausing the income for any reason, now costs more than it ever has before, because the cost of stopping is the entire structure of the life you built while you were going. The fourth part is the one that explains the Wednesday feeling better than anything else, and that almost nobody who earns well has been told clearly enough. Income and wealth are not the same word. They feel like the same word. They are used almost interchangeably in the way people talk about money. But they describe completely different things, and confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes a high earner can make across the course of a career. Income is what arrives. Wealth is what stays. Income is the number on the offer letter. Wealth is the number that would still be there if the offer letter disappeared tomorrow. A person earning $180,000 a year and spending $174,000 is building almost exactly what a person earning $65,000 and spending $59,000 is building. The math cannot tell them apart. The car in the driveway can, the apartment can, the restaurant can. But the account that will matter in 30 years cannot, because that account is built entirely from the gap. The 6,000, the 6,000, the 6,000, month after month, compounding quietly while the rest of the income is being correctly and reasonably spent on the life it was always going to fund. The high earner who never widens that gap is not wealthy. They are well paid. And well paid without wealth is a very specific kind of financial fragility, the kind that is invisible from the outside, invisible even from the inside most of the time, and completely visible the morning the income stops. Now, here are two people. You have seen them at the same dinner party. Same industry, same rough salary range, same city, same decade. From the outside, their lives are nearly identical. Same kind of apartment, same kind of evening. They talk about the same things people talk about when the income is similar and the lifestyle is similar, and nobody talks about the gap. The first one found the gap early, not dramatically. She didn't read a book or have a crisis. She just noticed, somewhere in her early 30s, that the raise kept arriving, and the account kept looking the same, and the Wednesday feeling kept returning, and she decided to treat the gap as a fixed expense, not what was left after everything else, but what left first, before everything else had a chance to need it. 20% of every paycheck, automated, gone before it had a name, the life built on what remained. She didn't feel it leave. That was always the strange part. The 20% departed so cleanly that the 80% funded a life that felt exactly as full as the 100% used to. The gap widened without the lifestyle narrowing, which turns out to be the only trick there is. The second person kept meaning to. He is not undisciplined. He is not careless with money. He just never made the gap a fixed expense. He made it a remainder. And remainders, in the life of a high earner with a high earner's fixed costs, have a way of approaching zero every month with quiet mathematical precision. He invests when there's something left. There is rarely something left. Not because the salary is insufficient, because the salary is entirely spoken for by a life that expanded to meet it and has been expanding ever since. 15 years later, the first person's gap, the 20% that left before anything else could need it, has compounded into something that would take the second person 8 or 9 years of his current salary to accumulate as a lump sum. They are still at the same dinner party. The conversation is still the same. The apartments are still similar. The Wednesday feeling visits one of them and has stopped visiting the other. Not because her income is higher, because her income has been doing 2 jobs for 15 years, and his has only ever done one. So here's the actual answer to the Wednesday question. Why does it still feel like you're behind when you earn what you earn? It feels that way because income without a protected gap is a treadmill. And the treadmill is very good at staying in exactly the same place regardless of the speed. The raise comes and the life meets it, and the Wednesday feeling follows it up the stairs and makes itself at home on the new floor, the same way it was at home on the last one. The feeling is not irrational. The feeling is data. It is telling you that the income is working, but the gap is not. That the salary is real and the wealth is not yet. That the number on the offer letter and the number in the account that would survive the offer letter disappearing are two different numbers, and right now, they are further apart than they need to be. You check the account on a Wednesday. The number is lower than it should be for a Wednesday in the middle of the month. You earn good money. You know that. The account knows something slightly different. The account knows what left and what stayed and what the difference between those two things has been compounding into while you were busy earning. The Wednesday feeling is not guilt. It is not weakness. It is the sound of the gap, asking a question it has been asking every Wednesday for years. You just finally know what the question is. The answer is not a larger salary. The answer is a smaller remainder. The answer is the 20% that leaves before the week gets expensive and the dinner gets easy and the thing for the apartment stops requiring a second thought. The answer has always been the gap. The gap was always the only number that was ever really yours.